Here we go.
Stream stopped for a minute. Yeah, there was some sort of a lag spike. My connection Nick severed like just a little bit, but I guess we're back. Did you see me choke that last run? For a couple minutes? How long do you mean by a couple minutes? Like...
I'm so confused on how to do fucking 5.
You just look up a tutorial. There's a beginner tutorial. Because you don't have to do bomb full. Bomb full is a trick for another day, bro.
I'm not trying to do a bomb full, I'm trying to do the other one, but the invisible platforms won't let me up.
Yeah, no, you have to like wall kick off of it. I didn't lose any time there, so that's cool.
Go.
I need to watch how to do it.
Just go on a run.
I need to watch how to do this one.
Oh fuck, I ground pounded, oh my god. Oh, it's fine. Fuck it. I'll make that up by having a not trash 1-2. And that's what I mean by not trash 1-2. That was actually perfect. I might have made back the time I lost from doing that retarded ground pound and more. Holding the Wii remote for so long just fucking hurts my thumbs, bro. Like, it wears me down.
You can use a GameCube, I'm pretty sure, or something.
I don't have a GameCube controller, unfortunately.
Go.
My mom might have our old GameCube somewhere, but, you know, she's pretty far away. Honestly, she probably doesn't still have it. I'd know if she still had it. My 1-3 was pretty good. Oh, except for that part. I didn't know where to go off to those blocks. I've never really done that before, so... Kind of stupid time loss, but it's, you know, it's whatever. I make mistakes here and there. I'm an amateur runner. Not good at in any sort of sense of the word. That's like maybe like 3 seconds. Yeah, I even ended that early actually, so yeah, making there at 3:14. That's good. It's so hot in my room, I even have my window open.
Same.
Fucking up that last run was fucking demoralizing, kind of. So, after this run, I'm gonna go make some tea, and we're gonna stay up longer. I want to try to PB this run. Or tonight. Oh wait, I was supposed to... Yeah, I ended that so late.
Bro, I'm so confused on how to get this part.
What? Go.
Like, I can do this entire area.
you get a power up after it, so I guess it doesn't really matter all that much. Except for getting the power up back does take some seconds off, so that's not entirely convenient. Ah! Fuck. I had to take damage there. The only way to make his up was as Small Mario. Alright. Not as fast as any of my other ones, but fuck it.
Mario time.
Still golden split. I have a 91-second delay. Is that for chat, or is that just for me? Alright, 10 full seconds of time save. Nice. Now I have to do this part of Small Mario. I've gotten this very clean for the most part throughout all these runs, so let's see where I get now. Alright, that was a fuck up. That's right. Alright, yeah, as soon as I take out those brand balls, that's usually how I know that I've cleared this run, because that's usually the part I fuck up at. Huh?
5-4 is Mini Mario. You can do the 5-4 skip as Mini Mario.
Mini Mario? That's gotta be hard as fuck though.
Mario time.
I actually made perfect time on 5-3. That was like probably the fastest I've ever done it. That's a 10-second time save right there. This is a good run. Just have to keep on it. Like that's those two levels. We get past that, then the only trouble spots are World 8. Specifically Airship and Bowser's Castle. Bowser's Castle I practiced. Airship I didn't practice for some reason because I just didn't think of it, I guess. Did I at least skip a cycle on this? Like, just from getting from that? I had to have, right? I'm still making time. This run's alright. I missed that cycle, but fuck you. Alright, let's see if I get this all in one. Alright. This part's not hard. I'm just going to have to pick up a mushroom at the boss room door, which is perfectly fine. Just have to make sure that I do this next boss fast, which I usually do. And actually, I think I might save. I might be up a minute's time save, so this is probably gonna be an even better run than my last one.
I need to make some after I get that never
Oh, that's fucked. It's okay. Whatever. It makes my life harder, but we'll just use another mushroom. I made 10 seconds off that. Okay. Nice. You're supposed to do a small jump off that mini hill, and then the big jump, once you get over it, hitting the block loses you time.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it is. Well, I mean, it's just more consistent that way.
What?
Well, I got that tip from, like a running video. Like, watching the tutorial for 5-4.
I watched the number one over Redwood. They did the same shit.
Fuck. With this power up, we should be able to get everything right.
You're either gonna be hella fast or you're gonna how have I missed? I'm so
Is that the Luigi thing that I hear? Right on the edge, bro. I gotta use this to protect myself. Oh god damn! I did not think I'd hit that. I did not think that I'd get to that quick. All right. Let's see what I got.
Mario time.
Well, another good run here. Actually I lost just a bit of time, but it's whatever. Fuck it.
Taco time.
Almost forgot the route there for a second. Alright, I just hope that I get this. There we go, okay. Sometimes I hit that button and it gets me fucked up. Play it safe, play it safe, play it safe. Oh, actually, that was something I've never done before. That's time safe. Straight up. I'm gonna wait for this, because fuck it. And there we go.
This way.
Nice. Probably head going to cannon. Maybe, hopefully. Just can't throw in World 8.
Taco.
You're joking, bro. The dumbest shit ever.
Thank God I didn't see it. Yeah, I think I got a way sub 15-minute cannon. I actually saved 5 seconds on that. So I'm at a 41-second lead over my record, or over my PB. I'm about to get a much lower PB. So much lower.
Dude, you spent like fucking 8 minutes on the castle.
Well, yeah, I'm going to clear that up because I have a death there. I could save like literally 2 minutes there. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get sub 30, but it'll definitely be something. Like, I just think you should go take a run all the way just to see like where you are in terms of time. Oh wait, I'm stupid. Ow. I feel a weird stinging pain in my back. It's distracting me. Okay, on this next weight here. Scratch. Nice. Time save. Did it pretty fast. Like, I think that was a sub 2 second scratch. Nice. I don't think you understand my speedrunning expertise. My bodily functions are all in optimum time. I take 2 seconds to piss. No, that's not what I do. I actually lost time there? Damn, I must have had a really good 1-8. Or 8-1. Like a really good 8-1.
Good damage boost on you. You should
Dude.
damage boost on anyone. And if you're not, then...
Yeah, I'm damage boosting. I damage boosted once because
There's a damage boost strat for that.
Yeah, no, I know that one. Like, I just didn't have the ice on me, so I didn't feel comfortable really doing it. At least for that one. This is actually my optimum run, guys. Like, this is it. Fastest pace I've ever been on. I just need to get this fucking star. Oh my god. It's fine, that's time loss, whatever. That's also time loss. So I'm not gonna have the star for very long going into these rolling hills, which is bad because I use it to get a pretty decent head start. Alright, you know what, I don't think I lost any time on that, but we'll have to see. We're getting into Pwn Train with this lead. So good. Oh my god. Dude, I made a 1.5 seconds on that one. So I'm like 40 seconds ahead. I could sub 20. If I do everything right. Or sub 30. If I do everything right here, I could absolutely sub 30. I just have to relax myself. Really nothing is holding me back from sub 30. Except for my own incompetence, which, you know, is a pretty formidable foe. I'm PBA That's after this next one where we do the... There we go. That's probably a time save. I just have to do the wall kicks everywhere else. Don't get fucking trapped on that tube by jumping too far. And this level I probably even, or maybe just by milliseconds same time. I'm glad that I gave myself leeway with this run. I gave myself a lot of leeway. Thought I just might as well do these red coins things. Yeah, fuck it. Yeah, I always fuck up that one. I'm not high enough for it. Let's see where we get. I'm not gonna fuck up this late to this run. No way. So hopefully airship goes well. I still have the power up, so I'm assuming it will. Actually, maybe time loss. Yeah, time loss by just so barely. Just a millisecond of time loss. Alright. We just have to get through Bowser. We have to get through airship, first of all. Then Bowser's Castle. Oh my fucking god. Let's get this done. I could absolutely sub 30. I mean, even like I've gotten through so many runs and I've been getting like good times. I think that I'm just bound to PB tonight. It just depends if I really get everything together. Yeah?
I did.
You did 5-3?
I need to get this shit down before I
Set a PB. So you're really trying to beat me. I mean, by the time I have my entire run optimized, I could probably practice while you're still running to beat my PB, even with your trick.
I got the rest. I already got the power down.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of time you could save with the propeller suit. I'm very aware of it. It's just, I like my spins, okay? I like my mid-air spins, and I don't like them to be interrupted. Alright. Wish me luck for fucking the boss battle. Like, literally, this is make or break right here. Or, well, actually, 2 levels to get through before it's the record. Or, not record, but sub 30. We could do this. Alright, nice. I just have to avoid these fireballs. Don't let him power me down. Fuck! Alright, come on, come back here. Nice. You do? Good shit, bro. Maybe you could teach me how to do it. Nice. Huh?
It's literally invisible. You gotta remember when.
Yeah, I figured there'd be. Dude, I actually saved maybe a minute. Straight up. Like, I saved so much time. This might sub 30. Right now. Alright. I have a lot of time. This is my best pace ever. Dude, I might do this, Nick. I might actually do this. Also, you're quiet still. Alright. Here we fucking go, bruh. I know to save a couple seconds on this. I've practiced Castle. I'm in the speedrunning mood. You know, I think that I will... I think that I could do this. I could definitely do this. Oh my god. Dude, I'm gonna start shaking once it gets down to the escape. Dude, this might be it. I'm actually... Whew. This is it, Nick. This is literally fucking it. Huh? Turn up your microphone. There's nothing you can do? Fuck, I have to go down on this one anyway then. Small time save, or small time loss, but you know what? We made it to the escape. We can do this. Under 4 minutes, we can do this. This level does not take 4 minutes long. I should have picked up the fire, but we got this. We literally got this. I just need to pull it off. I had to play it safe. I had to play it safe. Can't lose power up. I need to keep this. I need to... Oh my god. Oh, he's jumping already. Nice. Okay. 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 I'd hit my vape so bad. Oh my god. I need to do this under 2 minutes, and I get sub 30.
Huh? Was your other one even dead?
Huh?
Was your other one even burnt or dead?
It's pretty burnt. But I need it. I could guard the fireballs much quicker. I could do this. Alright. Alright, guys. I don't know if you could feel the shaking on my voice, but... this is getting down to it. I waited a long time for that, but it was worth it. Oh! I did it! Sub 30! Oh my god! Oh my fucking god! Oh my fucking god. Oh my fucking god. Dude, hold on.